Hakadosh, good morning. I wanted to share with you a beautiful idea. In this week's Parashat, at the beginning, we have the mitzvah of Bikurim. What is the mitzvah of Bikurim? This is a mitzvah where we take the first fruits and we come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and we thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu for these fruits. And this always comes out right before Rosh Hashanah. Always. And there's many questions. Why exactly? Right? So listen, it says here like this. Higati yom she'eni kafui tova. So he comes and he says like this. Sipur yadua. There's a famous story. Shebe'achat yeshivot, in one of the yeshivot, right? They went and they made afkana. They made riots. So imagine, one of the yeshivot, they come, the boys are rioting, right? Riot. They want to make a balagan. Fine. So what happens is that they were saying that the food was not good. There wasn't a good food. So the people of the kitchen staff, they were actually hurt. And, they went to the yeshiva. They said, who's doing this? Who's saying that the food's not good? We try our best. What's going on? So the yeshiva went and he said, it's very, very simple. Go check who are the boys that don't pay anything, right, for school. And those are the ones that they organized, right, the afkana, the riot. They went and they checked, and it was exactly what the yeshiva said. So went and everybody started saying, wow, the yeshiva has Ruach HaKodesh. Think about it. He went and he said, who doesn't pay school? Boom, they go down the entire list. All those boys that don't pay schools, they don't pay the schooling, they're the ones that they started it. You were correct. He was correct. But Ruach HaKodesh. He went in his anvatnuto. He came in with his humbleness, and he said, no, it's very, very simple. The only way to get out of Hakarat Hatov, to get out of recognizing and being grateful for the good that you have, is being an ingrate, is being the exact opposite. Kfui tova. That's the only way to get out of it. So he comes and he says like this, Kfuyot tova, that is actually something which is so fundamental, right? To know what's a boy who's mushchat, he's terrible. He says, you just went and you helped somebody, right? You brought him up from nothing. And now when he's enjoying himself, he's going to come and turn his nape on you. He's going to turn his back on you, right? He says, there's nobody who could come, but that's terrible. But he comes and he says like this, he went to one of the Gdulim and they told him, you should know that to do with chinuch, right? Sometimes there's going to be people that are going to be kafui tova. That student that you're going to invest the most, he's going to give you the biggest slap. Something incredible. And by the way, there's not only for a rabbi to a student, rabbi to congregants. Sometimes you come and you can invest so much in a person, and that is the person that he's going to come and he's going to give you the slap in the face. Now you think to yourself, but why? And the answer is because of what we just mentioned here. The kafui tova, the person really be'emet, he owes him everything. But he has a problem. I owe you. And it's not that I owe you everything. It's too much. So what happens? They become a kafui tova. And by becoming a kafui tova, they get out of the problem that now, ki'ilu, I don't owe you anything. Now, it's not that they don't owe. They really be'emet do owe. And it's really be'emet, mishalem ra'at tachat tova, you paid them bad instead of the good and everything else that you want. But at the end of the day, right, that's the nature of a human being. In our parasha, when we're talking about the mitzvah of bikurim, a person comes with his fruits, right, a basket full of fruits, to come and to say to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you. Rashi says, what does he got yom? I'm going to say today, I'm not a kafui tova. Now we have to understand, a person is born with a hakarat hatov. But by psychology, a person wants to be free. So since he wants to be free, he's going to find a technical reason why be'emet, he does not owe you anything. I mean, even though you just did him a favor, you just did something good, he's going to find some reason. Whatever it is, it could be that you were doing it in any way. It could be that you didn't really help. It could be that you thought that you helped and really didn't help. It could be millions of things. But there's always going to be an excuse. To what? To exempt yourself from really being grateful. And that's what it is. Why? Because if I owe you, it's a worse feeling for a human being. I can't owe anybody. You understand? That's what we're saying. So he comes and he says, right, as follows. So he comes and he says, right, when we're talking about Hakarat Hatov, right, and we're talking about the entire concept of, kfui tova, he says, many times we say, he didn't only do it for me, For sure, he's benefiting. He's doing it for himself, and therefore they don't have to do anything. But the Gemara says, what is a person that's not a good guest? What does he say? Kol ma she'asa ba'al habayit bishvilo asa. Meaning, what's the difference between a good guest and a bad guest? A good guest says, whatever the Ba'al habayit did was for me. Really, Be'emet, whenever they come and they have a regular Shabbat meal, they don't have all the meats and all the this and all the that. They don't have all these things, right? So when he came and I came to his Shabbat meal and he made me this meal, everything that he did was for me, for my honor. That's a good oreach. That's a good guest. What's the bad guest? He didn't add anything. Every Shabbat it's like that. He did me a favor. Fine, you're right. I came over. You're right. I didn't have a place where to eat, this, that. But really, it's like that every Shabbat. So he didn't do anything. Now, he doesn't realize that he actually came, right? And he did do this. He did everything over. Yeah? The greatness of what it is. So he says, already Adam Rishon was the first person that showed us that in nature, a person is kafui tovah. It's in nature. It's inside of us. How do we see that by Adam Rishon? He comes and he says, it was the woman that you gave me. He pointed the finger to his wife. Right? You think that, right, where the man, every man thinks he's the first person that he does it. Adam Rishon was the first person. He pointed to his wife. She's the culprit. She's the fault. Right? Why does the guy not have money? Points to his wife. Why is it he wakes up late for Shachrit? Points to his wife. Why does he have to do? Why does he not tzaddik? Points to the wife. Everything's the wife. Yeah. So what happens is he comes. He says, "Aisha shenatate." She was the one that gave me to eat. Rashi says, "Kafar betovah." He was kofar betovah. He was an ingrate. Right? Why? Because how could it be? Hakadosh Baruch Hu gave you somebody to be with you, to take care of you, to accompany you. Even forget about all the other things, right? That she cooks for you, cleans for you, this, all the other million things. Even just to accompany you. You're not by yourself, to support you. And you're going to come, you're going to say, it was you. You gave it to me, as if it's your fault. But again, kafar b'tovah. The Visal Salanter, it was always said that whenever he used to come, he always had small stones, and he always used to have matches in his pocket. Whenever he used to give him, right? Whenever he used to do a favor, he used to give them the stones with the matches, and he used to tell them, "Do me a favor. When you're going to throw me the stones, right? That because I did you this favor, don't throw me the big stones. Throw me these small ones. Throw me these small stones." And the Chatam Sofer, it actually once happened that for him there was somebody that he was giving him a lot of problems, and he went and he thought to himself, and he says, "I don't understand." Right? He says, I don't remember I did him any favor that he's doing me so many problems. Meaning you see from here that it's usually people that you do them favors. Usually people that you help them, that you come and you do things for them. And you think that you've done the entire world, you bend over backwards. These are the people that are going to come and they're going to slap you in the face. And it's going to be the hardest slap. That's by nature. That was the Chatam Sofer. That's the Rav Yisrael Salanter. I think it's just incredible. And especially we have to know that this actually applies to Kibud Avayim. Kibud Orim, respecting our parents. Why? Right? But the Chinuch already brings down, what is the shoresh of the mitzvah? What is the root of the mitzvah of Kibud Avayim? He says it's fitting for a person to recognize all the good they did with him, and that a person shouldn't be a disgusting person and starts becoming a stranger and a kafui tovah, because it's a very bad midah in the eyes of HaKadosh Baruch Hu and people. And they have to pay attention that their father and the mother was the reason why they're in this world. And really, Be'emet, everything that they've done for them. And he says, and therefore, right, Be'emet, he comes and he says, it's fitting for him to give them all the kavod and everything that he could. Mamash, to respect them until the end. Because they brought you to this world. And look how much they did for you when you were younger. Right? And that's what they made you who you are. So therefore, once you do that, you're going to have Hakarat Hatov also for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because he was the beginning and he was everything. Meaning, once you're able to be Makir Tovah to your parents, that's a catalyst to be Makir Tovah to Hashem. And that's why, by the way, it's on the first 5 commandments. If you realize, we always say there's Ben Adam Lamakom and Ben Adam Lechavero, interpersonal relationships, and between us and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The first 5 of the 10 commandments are Ben Adam Lamakom. The second 5 are between Ben Adam Lechavero. But where's Kibud Avayim? Right? It's on the first 5. What's going on? The answer is because it is. Because the Kibud Avayim, the purpose was in order to get to Hashem. So if a person comes and they really respect their parents, they could really respect HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But you're right. But if a person does not respect his parents, there's nothing what to expect then of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because look how they are. And therefore, that's why he says it's mefurash in Rabbi Yonah. Rabbi Yonah says, "Ha'olam kulo nivra lichvod Hashem yitbala." The entire world was created for Hashem, as it says, "Kol hanikra bishmi v'lichvodi berativ." So if somebody wants to be mechabedet Hashem, mechabedet ha'orim shelcha. You want to respect Hashem, respect your parents, and that's why they say when a person comes and he respects his parents, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "I'm living there, I'm there, and you respected me." And according to this, now we understand the Gemara to do with Ikvet the Mashiach. During the time when the Mashiach is going to come, a ben is minavel av. What does it mean, ben minavel av? We know, Pnei Ador K'Pnei HaKelef. The generation will be like dogs. What does that mean exactly? He's not embarrassed from his father. He says because the Kelev, right, the dog that he's benefiting, he never gives it back. Just like we see it. That he says, right? Right? What does that mean? They always call it from a dog. Meaning they're always going to say, I'm not like a dog. Meaning a dog, you could come, you could throw it something. It's not going to come afterwards and tell you thank you. He says here, you have to actually be makir tovah. So he's Rav Shimon Rozovsky. He once explained, what do we say that somebody that owes you something, right? He's called an asir todah. Asir todah, he says, like, for example, somebody does you a favor. So he says, asir todah. Why is it asir todah? You're mamash asur bechovatcha anoshiv v'mosarit alyona lakilo todah. You're obligated, you're tied down. Asirim are the people who are in jail, right? The people that are asir, right? Matir asurim. You're releasing those who are tied up, who are bound. What does that mean? People, the second that you come and somebody does you a favor, you're tied up, you're bound. To do what? To respect it, to acknowledge it, and to thank him for it. Right? That's what it is. So he comes and he says, that's what it is, the musarit. And like just like the Dat Chochmah Musar of Yerucham says, Habiura mitiya v'hakarat Hatov is havdut v'ishtamdut al-balatova. You subjugate yourself to him. You mamash, you come. Do you know when parents come and they ask their children, can you come do this for me? And they come and they start making you these faces, especially in the teenager years, or they come and they start doing all these things. I don't understand. You are an eved. You come and you just, where do we see this also? Eved, right? Loveli ish malveh. When you lend somebody money, they become like your slave. What do you mean they become like your slave? When you come and you lend somebody money, you just did them a favor. You saved them. You saved their back. They had no cash. They were strapped for cash, and you just saved them. That in itself is so powerful that a person just has to understand the what? That really, man, look, I owe you. I'm your eved. I'm subjugated to you. And that's kaviyachol, says HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to every single Jew. When you guys come and you lend money to another Jew, ki'ilu kaviyachol, the Gemara says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is ki'ilu, like now the eved. That now he's becoming subjugated to you. But that's the way. If HaKadosh Baruch Hu is doing that, so imagine us. Somebody does us a favor. We're here. We're here to help. We have to pay you back. Well, all of a sudden, you do them the favor. All of a sudden, you need a favor in return. They're not here. I'm sorry. What? I'm sorry. Where did you go? I know, but I had this and I had that. But I don't understand. They did you a favor. Where are you to repay the favor? You have to become their eved. The Chovot HaLevavot writes, Kol ha'avodat ha'elokim. Everything our service to God is built upon Hakarat Hatov. And somebody that's not Mekir Tovah, the one that's giving him there's nobody that's more destructive than him. That's more mushchat. So he says, well, why? Because we learned, if you're going to come and you're going to reject the good that your friend did, you're going to reject what HaKadosh Baruch Hu did for you. And therefore it says, we know that we're called Yehudim. Why are we called Jews? Because of the first hoda'ah that we thank the HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, thank you. Because once we realize that, we're going to come. And that's why we says that what did Adam Rishon come and he say? The Perek Tilim of Adam Rishon is, Mizmor Yom HaShabbat Tov Lehodot LaHashem. It's good to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because when you come and you thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what we're supposed to do. And that's what we say, right? That it says, Ve'anita v'amarta. What is Ve'anita? You have to pick up your voice. To say Be'kol Ram. Like David HaMelech says, Mizmor LeTodah. Hariu LaHashem Kol Haaretz. You have to scream the thank you to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now, I'm going to think, 1 second, is there a statute of limitations? So what are you going to answer? Obviously, the answer is no. Because I'm going to ask you a question. What happens right now, your parents come and they grew you up. Until how long did they grow you up? So you're right. Nowadays, it's much longer than before. Once upon a time, at the age of 12, you were already working, right? And therefore, you're already supporting and you're already working, for the family and so on and so forth. Nowadays, right, every single year it gets later. Once upon a time, you used to come and used to pay for the yeshiva of your children. Then it became high school. Then after the high school becomes the yeshiva. Then it becomes the university. Then after, even if they get married, you still have to pay another year or 2 years or 5 years in a, and then so every single year it continues advancing. You understand? But let's just pretend it was like the olden days. Yeah, how many years did your parents come and they raised you up? And how many years? 20 years, right? Even 20 years. Now all of a sudden, from 20 till 60, right? You're coming and you're working on your own. And the opposite, you're even helping them back and you're paying them back. Now it comes to the age of 60 or 65 or 70, and your mother or your father, they are 100 years old, and you still have a mitzvah to come and to respect them. And you're going to say, hey, statute of limitations. Listen, I already served you. You served me for 20 years. I just served you for 40 years. What's going on? From the age of 40 to 60 to 65, I pay you even back even more. And the answer is it doesn't exist. Because the fact that somebody did for you a favor, you always have to pay them back. I don't know if you remember, I once brought down a story that happened, I think it was with Rav Chaim Kanievsky, with the Chazon Ish. Somebody once did them a favor. And what happened is that I think he was about to fall and they went and they helped him or whatever it was, and the person basically just disappeared. Right? Rav Chaim Kanievsky, 20 years later, he looked up one day and he saw him in the Bet HaMidrash in Shachrit. Immediately after Shachrit, he went running to the person and he told him, thank you. Now, this is a person that he saw once. But he, in order to be Makid Tovah, he made sure that he was going to recognize a face, and he didn't remember it for 20 years in order to say thank you 20 years later. Whenever it was going to be. Doesn't matter. But he has to say thank you. There's no such thing as that it's an expiry date. Somebody does a favor to you, you have to pay them back. You have to recognize the good that they do to you. You have to actually understand what it is. And that's why it is that a person has to have this Hakarat Hatov. Do you know that there's a very important segula to be written for a ketiva, a chatima tova? It says in this week's parasha, "V'samachta b'chol hatov." You're going to be happy with all the good, right? Asher natan lecha Hashem lokecha u'betecha, which Hashem gives to you in your house, right? Here we have a mitzvah to be happy. Mitzvah, v'samachta b'chol sameach. You have to be b'simcha b'chol hatov, with all the good that Hashem gives you. Now I'm going to ask you a very simple question. When was the last time I had to tell you to be happy on something good? It's like right now you're going to win, right, the lottery. And let's not even go to the big millions, yeah? You won $100,000, $10,000, doesn't matter what. You won money. I have to tell you, by the way, be happy. Well, be happy. Obviously, you're going to be happy. You just won something. Why wouldn't you be happy? The chidush is that if things are not going well, then you have to be happy with it. Listen, still be happy. So, okay, I can understand. But when things are going well, you have to be happy. Obviously, you're going to be happy. So the one that asked this question, right, he comes, he says, is really Be'emet Rav Steinman. And Rav Steinman comes and he says as follows. The majority of the people, we have good things going for us, and we're still bitter. And we're still not happy, even though the good things are going for us. So he says that's the explanation what we say in the Tehillim, Tov Adonai lakol v'rachamav al kol ma'asav. Right? Just like we say, Yimalefiti latecha, right? That our mouths should be filled with the praises of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, Tov Hashem lakol, all the Nivraim margishim tov, except for the one that he's lacking something. Because the one that he's lacking something, he's never going to be happy. And therefore it says, V'samachta b'chol hatov, you have to be happy that even though you're lacking, you're still happy. Why? Because by nature, you could have everything in the world, but you're missing one little thing, and now you have nothing. Where do we see that? Haman. It says Haman HaRasha had everything. He had, I don't know how many hundreds of children, right? He had money, wealth. He had power. He had everything that you want going for him. And what did he say? V'chol zeh enenu shoveli. Everything that I have is worthless to me as long as I have Mordechai Yehudi that he's not bowing down to me. Meaning that as long as I don't have this one Jew coming and bowing down to me, everything that he has of money, of wealth, of whether it's going to be children, whether it's going to be power, whether it's going to be advisor of the king, whether anything, nothing's worth it for him because he's lacking one thing. That's what we're saying. So he comes and he says, but there's actually two parts in this avodah. Our avodah, our service to Hashem is number one, to pay attention to the good that Hashem gives us. And that's the concept of always, writing down and always thanking Hashem of the 100 times, every single day. Write down all the things that Hashem is giving you. And every single day, do it differently. Right? Thank you, Hashem, Bikitsu. Right? Number two, to be happy, right, with the good, and not chas v'shalom, to be a person that's an argan. An argan is somebody that's an ingrate, that he doesn't recognize the good. Why? Do you know that in Hebrew, right, what is it called, the people that complain? He says, litonen. Litonen is aninut. Aninut is like somebody that just passed away. They're onens. What does that mean? Ki'ilu, they're crying that somebody just passed away. That their niftar is right in front of them. So he says that sometimes a person comes and they're not even paying attention to the good that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is giving them. And therefore, once he's taking them out from there, right, and they come and they realize it, all of a sudden they come and they say, what's going on? Just like what happened to Bnei Israel. HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes them out of Mitzrayim. And they come and they have the audacity to tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'sinat Hashem otanu hotzianu mi'Mitzrayim. He says, I don't understand you. They were taking your babies and using them as bricks. They were slaughtering them and using their blood. You're going to tell me that it was not good to take you out of Mitzrayim? And then all of a sudden you come and you say, because you hate us, that's why you took us out of Mitzrayim? What's going on? How does that work exactly? But that's exactly what's happening. What's happening is that because Kilu, they don't recognize the good, that's why. Imagine somebody's coming and they're going into the Holocaust, 1945, they're coming, they're going to take them out of the concentration camps. And the guy comes and he says, you hate us, that's why you're taking us out of here. The guys are going to come and say, okay, these guys were here so long, they need mental help. You're going to tell me it's bad to take you out of the concentration camp? But that's what happened. They took them out of Mitzrayim, and they could tell HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'sinat Hashem, you hate us. And that's why you took us out of Mitzrayim. But again, because of a person that is kafui tova. So he comes and he says, when it says, V'lo natan Hashem lachem lev dadat, that's towards the end of the parasha, it means that we weren't paying attention to all the good that Hashem did to us. And therefore we wouldn't place it in our minds. Because, right, it's shalot TV, he says, you need to pay attention to it. Meaning many times we could do things and we don't pay attention. Do you know we're learning Bekim Balacha now? And Bekim Balacha, right, there's a halacha program that you learn, right, a page a day or whatever. It's basically 2-3 halachot a day. And basically you're learning and it's very, very incredible. Everything's in English. It's an English Yalkut Yosef. And they also gave out the Asher Yatzar book, which is basically a book, right, explaining to us the importance of Asher Yatzar. And mamash, when you come and you see what it is, a human body, that we're able to go to the washroom, how we're able to control ourselves, how HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes and we put the food and it's able to digest it and it takes all the good nutrients and all the bad, it comes in and all the refuse, it just gets rid of it. What a wisdom. But if we don't pay attention to it, we take it for granted. And we don't realize what's going on. And that's the biggest sigula for having the refuah shelema and for having all these things. Pay attention to Asher Yatzar. Pay attention to the bracha. So he comes and he says, that's why it says, V'lo natan Hashem, you have to live ladat, you have to pay attention to it. So he says, and also he comes and he says, especially during the month of the Rachamim V'Slichot, he says, Rashi says, Kol kama shemarbim be'oda'a elav yitbarach, zochim lidvekut b'shchina. The more that you're going to come and you're going to cling to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the more that you thank him. And therefore he comes and he says something incredible. He says, Etzem ha'oda'ah is clinging to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Meaning when you come and you say thank you, you attach yourself to them. You become part of them. And therefore HaKadosh Baruch Hu likes it when you're going to say thank you to him. But that you have to pay attention. So you're going to open up your mind and you're going to say, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look how much good you give me. Look what you gave me. Yeah, all the gems that I have, all the presents that I have, my children, my health, my parnasah, my wife, the parents, grandchildren, right? Family, right? My job, look how many things we have to thank HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And it changes everything. Because all of a sudden we think to ourselves, you know what? Wow, thank you. Everything's just thank you. Again and again and again. So he comes and he says, this in essence is actually going to be a very big segula for the Yom Adin. He says, why is it going to be for Yom Adin? Because when a person realizes that he's going to start coming and thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for all the good, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will come and he'll give him another year in order to bless him again. Because somebody that appreciates, you always want to give them more. If a person doesn't appreciate, you don't want to give them more. And that's why I just think it's incredible, right? This inyan. This inyan is very, very important because again, obviously we have the importance of this, we're going to say this concept of thanking HaKadosh Baruch Hu for everything in order B'ezrat Hashem that HaKadosh Baruch Hu will also give us the berachot also on the other hand as well, B'ezrat Hashem.